Welcome to the Gotland Game Talk for Project Managers and to the Game Design Department at Uppsala University. My name is Lina Sorsimesson. I'm your host here today. I'm also a researcher and a teacher in Game Design for Project Managers at Campus Gotland. This seminar series is actually part of the curriculum for students studying the bachelor program in Game Design for Project Managers at Uppsala University. However, I like to emphasize that this is an open seminar series where everyone interested is welcome. The format of these seminars is that I will have a 30-minute conversation with a guest about a pre-announced subject. This part of the seminar is recorded, and you can ask your questions in the chat. After 30 minutes, we will stop the recording and we will open up for a shared Q&A session where you can continue to ask your questions in the chat or raise your digital hand and unmute yourself and ask the question. Today, our guest is Gabriel Gardell, an organizational psychologist, a senior consultant, and also a project manager at Uppsala University. Gabriel is joining us to share his knowledge, his thoughts, and his experience about working with leaders individually and in groups to develop their skills to empower effective teams. Welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. Let's see if you talk a little bit to me so we can see if we get your sound working properly.
I'm trying to. That sound. Do you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's still a little strange. Maybe you should remove the headphones. We can maybe.
So.
It's always funny with this technology. Okay, let's continue and hope the sound gets back to us. I suggest we start up by giving our audience a possibility to get to know you a little bit, your professional background and what you do today.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I have two roles today, and so in one of them is working with contract education here at Uppsala University as a project manager. But mainly I have a role as a senior consultant at IPF, which is a consultant firm, actually a part of Uppsala University is own it. So but I'm graduated here in Uppsala. My background is a psychologist, and I have been working for almost 20 years, a little bit more. Started with working with in the occupational health service, and the problem there was mainly about stress and conflicts and so on. But after a couple of years, I have been working more with the management teams, leadership and organizational development. And I like that because I like to see things grow and develop, and I like to be a part of people to understand each other more and accomplish things together.
Thanks. I would like to start for us to set the ground again, what we're talking about. So let's talk about leadership. What is a leader? What is the difference between a leader and a project manager?
When you talk about the project manager or manager overall, it's a formal role, I think, and then where you are responsible for the outcome and keeping budget and schedule, and so you are supposed to organize and plan things. But as a leader, it's more about, it's not a formal role, it's more about your ability to influence other people and motivate other people and contribute for them to contribute for effectiveness and results. So if you are a manager, you have to rely on your leadership skills, but it's not necessary that you're a manager if you lead. So in that sense, they are connected to each other, but it's not the same thing.
So then what is a good leader?
Well, I think it's if you think about a leader who is one that influence other and make results, I will also add that a good leader is a person that give room for development for both themselves and the person and the organization as well. So I would say that that's a good leader in a sense.
So we're going to get to how to become a good leader also, but before we move forward to that, I like to touch upon different kind of leadership. So I know we talk about conventional and transformational leaders.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that, what it is, so we have a shared picture of what kind of different leaderships we have?
Yeah. Well, you refer to the theory, and one of the main theories is the full range leadership model, and it says that you have the conventional transactional leadership, and then it's transformational. If I would say that the difference is that the conventional transactional style, you can make results, but you will have people to do just up to a certain level and nothing more, perhaps. So you can absolutely get good result by setting clear goals and be follow up and really be there and look for if there are any problems, but you will not get the so much result as you will have if you make it like a transformational leader instead. And the main difference, I would say, is if you can connect for the inner motivation in people, that you connect to their own will to do something, you can get even more. And that's what they have found also in research, that the results is both on the organizational level and the individual level when you have a transformational leadership instead of the conventional.
Before we go into teams,
yeah,
what because you work a lot with leaders and leadership,
yeah,
what is it in leadership that fascinates you and that this made you decide as a psychologist to go in and focus on leadership?
I would not say that in some way perhaps focus on leadership, but I think it's interesting to, as a leader or a manager, you have the power to change the conditions in organization, and so I think it's a high potential if you work with a management team and they really would like to develop as a team and persons. You can have a big impact on many people's lives, working life. So that's one reason. But in another way, I think that most people, if you think about it, we all are leaders in some way in different kind of situations. So I think it's interesting in leadership because you can develop yourself and think about when do you lead and when do you have to step up and take responsibility for. If you are a co-member in a team, you also need to have situations when you lead. So in that sense, I think leadership is a broad concept and is important for everyone to learn more about and develop your leadership skills in.
Let's talk about teams.
Yep.
And again, love to set the scene so we know what we're talking about. What is a team when you are talking about teams?
Yeah, I think it's important to, if you think about a group of people and a team, there's a difference because in a group, it's not necessary that you have to cooperate, for example. So if the definition for a team could be that you have the common goals, you have the same goals, and you look at yourself as a team. And you have the same purpose. And then you also can say that for a team, it's very important to follow up and look at the results that we are doing together. So in that sense, there's a difference between a team and just an ordinary working group or people that working for themselves. But that's, I would say that it's an important distinction between a team and a group.
So the foundation of a team, if you would give me the foundation of a team, what is that?
Yeah, and then you can also say that the foundation is that they're a group of people, but they also have perhaps different skills, different competence, and that's often the reason why you put together a team, because you have an assignment, you have a challenge that really it's too much for one person to accomplish, and you need to have different kind of expertise to solve the problem, and in that sense you need to make it to put together a team. So working in a team is very, I think today most people know have been in a working environment when you're supposed to go in and work in a team context.
So can we have a team that is not effective then?
Absolutely.
Okay, tell us about what an effective team is then.
An effective, yeah, but I think I would say that an effective team is of course you get the results, you have your stakeholders and your customers, or what, it depends on what the team is serving, but you have a result, which are output that people will say that, yeah, now we have a good result. But in another way, I would say an effective team also gives space for learning and development and job satisfaction for the people in the team, and also get better and better in how to deal with different kind of problems. So that's, I would say that an effective team go on and evolve over time.
So is there such a thing of being a good team member and a not proficient team member?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about being a good team member or being a team member? What does it mean?
Yeah. I think you have thinking about team like that team is something, is a group that evolving over time and getting better and better, but that's not you also have to go in to work with other people, people that you haven't met before, and perhaps you just go in for a short period of time, and then you need to have some certain skills, social skills and skills that make it easier to cooperate with other people. And in that sense, I would say that you can, a good team member is a person that are good at social skills, and not a very good team member is a person that are not interested in, or perhaps just doesn't understand that they are in a team working for themselves. So I would say that's a good team member having good team member skills, team skills.
So when we talk about social skills, it's a word that comes quite often.
Yeah.
We hire social skills, hard skills, power skills is coming into the arena more and more now also. But if we stick to the social skills, what are you talking about when you mean that?
Communication is a ground thing, of course, to how to relate to other people and to listen, to ask and listen. But they also they have something that is called psychological safety. If you have a culture in a team that are giving you the opportunity to follow up mistakes and things like that, it's much, you have seen that it's getting much more better results. So if you have team members that are contributing to building up an atmosphere of social security or psychological safety, it's very helpful. So I would say that a person that are seeing them take responsibility and look for the whole and try to seeking for cooperate with other people.
I'm going to come back to psychological safety, but I would like us to start to tie this leadership and effective team things together now.
Yeah.
So let's start to talk about how to build a good team.
Okay.
And first of all, I would love for you to tell us what you do when you work with teams. How do you work with leaders so they can be good at building to build a good team?
I think it's important to have a good platform for the work in a team. So when I'm working with teams, I work not with a manager or the leader for the team. I'm working with the whole team, and the most basic thing with a team is to have a unified and the same picture of what's the scope of the project or our team's mission or goals. And then you also have to have clear out the accepting roles about what kind of form will we work. And so I give them time to talk about what's the purpose of the team, what are the motivation from each one of being a part of this team. They have time to figure out what are the most strategic questions that we need to really deal with for the coming month or year. What kind of social contract do we need to have with each other to really build trust with each other? And what kind of working forms will we rely on to make this team work? And then, of course, also forms for us to follow up. How do we know that we are achieving what we are striving for? So that kind of things I work with the team to talk about, to decide together, and then follow up with them over time. And then you can support the leader, but I think it's also important to work with the whole team.
So having these leadership courses are not really something that is effective.
It could
where
be,
you send all the leaders away, go away, get great at leadership and come back and make magic.
Yeah.
What do you say?
It's hard to rely on one person for a team to work. So I think it's more important that you can be able to work with the whole group. But of course, if you have the leadership programs, there's a problem with that, going away and then coming home and try to be a better person. But of course, you really have to connect the real problems in the everyday life in the program and work with that.
So if you were having a course now or meeting leaders and they're there to learn how to build a good team, what would be the most important thing that you would bring up?
I would say something about make sure that you really have everyone in the project to fully understand that the scope, for example, and have everyone to make sure that how will you do to communicate the progress that you do in the team, and don't take for granted that people will think the same thing as you think, and I will give them assignment for how will you work with your team when you get home to your team, and then come back and follow up with their colleagues in the development program. But I think that if you really want to develop a team, it's much more effective to work with the team directly also.
So is there something specifically that a team needs to succeed, to get the opportunity to succeed, like mission, purpose, and structure and this kind of thing? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah.
Like prerequisites to have in your mind, like mission, purpose, structure, resources, these kind of stuff.
I think when you have settled those things, that they will have the clear goals, we have the structure, then you have to start working, and it's a progress. You have to try things, you have to follow up in the team. So I think there's certain questions that you can bring with you in your team when you're working. It could be, how do we communicate with each other? How effective are we when we are working together? should we do it in another way? Are we using all our expertise in the team? Are we using that? It's not. How do we deal with disagreements? How do we make decisions? And how trustful are we with each other? So those kind of questions, I think it's you have to bring it up during the whole time you're working in the team to evolve.
Do you have experience of coming into a team with the leader and all the different actors in the team, and they are really facing problem? There are conflicts, there's a lack of trust.
Yeah.
What do you do then? Because I think everybody has at some point in time, and everybody will at some point of a time have that situation. You have a team and it's a lack of trust here. It's a lack of efficiency. It's not functioning. What can you do, and what do you do as a consultant, or when you meet these groups or these teams?
I think it's a difference between a team when they have a conflict and they have perhaps a conflict that you need to meet them in a way that you put some time in meeting everyone first. But often it could be also that you're working with a team and you find out that a conflict is very early in the conflict. You realize that perhaps they have interests that go against each other, or perhaps they have very diffused sense of what's the purpose of this team. Are we even a team? So you need to talk about in what sense are we a team? What are the main purpose of this group? And I think that's you can get very much results just doing that to start with, and you can also have very much problems if you don't do that, because I have been working myself as a team member or leading teams or working with teams that when you haven't cleared out the purpose and the goals and the roles, very much efforts in the team are putting into I'm doing my thing and you are doing your thing, and perhaps we reach some results but not that great results. So I think it's good to intervene early, and if it has gone so far that it's a conflict, then perhaps you need put much more time to find out what people really needs, and they are perhaps have hard time to communicate and be honest and talk to each other, and then you have to deal with it in another way, and it could even be hard for you as a team manager to do it yourself, and you perhaps need to ask for help, someone else to help you to intervene.
Are there some specific things when you look at teams? Are there some specific things that are the base of most of the problems that that happens in teams? Do we have some like this and this stuff? Mostly, majority of times, the problem is based on this. So is there something we should be extra aware of?
I think it's like in most human relations, it's misunderstanding in communication and expectations that are not meeting each other. I think that's very easy to because we are human and we have some. We have fear of missing out, of not belonging to a group, and we want to have a certain status in a group, and we want to looking clever and good, and could be a lot of prestige. So sometimes it could be hard for people to really meet and to be honest and respectful for each other. So I think that's a good thing to help people to meet and coming together for the common goal. But because most of the time I think that most people want to do a good job, and they want to contribute for the best, of course, but they really need to connect to each other, and that could be hard.
The first interview we had with a project manager at King, and she said, if you are the problem in the group and it's not a fun feeling, you often doesn't have to tell me that.
Yeah.
Give me the help to move forward from it.
Yeah.
We talked about teams and problems and leaderships and this, but what is it, the added value of teams? We just say like teamwork is fantastic. We just take it as that's the state of a fact. Teams are great. And we want effective teams. But what is it? What is the added value of a group that becomes a team for an organization?
Yeah. Today, you not always know what the challenge is that the team is going to meet. So you have to put together people that are able to innovate, perhaps, and to be intelligent together and achieve more than one person is able to do. So the added value of a team is if you can help the group to really use the potential in the group, then you can have the synergy of it, of course. But the thing is that it's not always that. It could also be, it's much more complicated when you put people together. So it's not for sure that you get out more when you put people in a team. It could even be so that the individual get a worse result on something when they have to cooperate with other. So you really need to make the team work to get out the added value.
I like to touch upon a special team. The team you put together, the team that should be able to bypass bureaucracy and get crucial work done super quickly. We have these situations where like, okay, we need this now, we need it fast, and we need great people that can do it together. How should you work as a leader to empower such a team?
Well, I think we touched it before as well, the thing that have a good platform for what are the purpose for us here together during this time. What are we need to do that we need all of us to do to accomplish this. I think that's a very important thing for leader to help the group to see, and also create an atmosphere and a culture that make it easy for people to contribute, and also to handling if you have different kind of interest, and you have to prioritize in ways that are perhaps hard for you. So make a safe environment also as well.
So that is such a challenging thing to get on your table. Make a great team now. This is what you're going to do. I expect you to make a great and effective team. Boom. What do that person need? What do a leader need to be able to create the culture like that? So what does an organization have to make sure that this organization have to enable this person to be a good leader, to empower effective teams?
I think one way, of course, you have to rely on the leader, but also you have to give the help, have good team members, of course, as we talked about before. But I think a leader that are really want to develop, if you want really take your own development seriously, I think that's a good thing to be if you're going to succeed. You have to be curious, you have to be very open-minded, and brave to try new things and explore together with the team, and don't suck up every responsibility for yourself and try to be an expert and because you really have to rely on the team members to accomplish it. So I'm not sure I answered your question now, but
there are hard questions, and
yeah.
I agree. I think you touched upon it, and it also has to do with, I think this psychological safety, that you
Yeah.
have that in the organization, really, that it is okay to try things and to work. We are approaching the Q&A session here.
Yeah.
Before we go into the Q&A session, what is the recommendation you have for our upcoming leaders when they start to build teams and that can support them in their work?
I would say that make sure that you have the right conditions for you about clarity of the purpose of the team, and they have good support around you, and don't be afraid to ask for help, I think. But also don't be afraid to try to explore and be curious to try new ways is something important. And being a leader is an ability and a skill that you have to practice to develop. So you need to do it a lot, and you have to make a lot of mistakes. And the only thing that helps you to develop is letting people know how they find out what they think about you. So ask for feedback. Ask for feedback, and try to really understand the feedback, and do not go in defense. Yes, try to learn and see the mistakes as really good input for yourself to develop.
Thank you for this half an hour. We are just to start the Q&A session that will go on for another half an hour. But before we do that, I will introduce our next Gotland Game Talk for project managers, which will be on the 21st of October. And we will meet Dr. Jenny Robinson then. She is a leadership development consultant and also a mindfulness coach to senior executives. And together with Jenny, we're going to dig even more deeper into conflicts, how to address and how to manage conflicts so that everyone involved can move forward in a constructive manner.